booster ignition, and liftoff, and all systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and the Bean universe. Lesbo and the Bean. LATB, LaTB, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and the Bean.
Welcome back. We finally made it. I can't say finally officially. 129 is still 6 days away. 229, I mean. Here, episode 140. We're getting into the preview. There's been so much information dropping all week long. This is going to be a stacked show. It's going to be a stacked week. We might even throw in a little post-press conference breakdown depending on how heated it gets. The fans apparently are invited this Wednesday or Thursday via Fight Pass.
You're telling me fun new info I don't know about.
Oh, officially confirmed, I believe, as of last night.
Ooh, that's
Saturday.
Really exciting.
There
so
is
another
a presser.
Khabib Conor, or is it for the whole 229? Will Tony be there as well?
I can't
my
officially
champion,
confirm
hashtag
it.
my champion.
I like it. I like that one. So, yeah, officially, I don't know if it's going to take places of the open workout, but I believe that's what's happening. So instead of them working out and doing all that bullshit and getting tired, they're going to rampage Jackson, walk in 45 minutes before the fight, and get at it. How have you been since we last talked? Saturday night, we had Mousasi versus Roy McDonald on a Bellator, DAZN network taking it over, and that was a fun main event. There was UFC quality fighters in there, dare I say.
Yeah, I enjoyed myself. It was a fun night of Bellator fights, and whatever they have going on as far as DAZN is concerned, I think it's the smarter business idea. It's the smarter business model.
Damn, you heard it here. LaTB is supporting the Bellator model. They're doing it right. Coker.
Pay-per-view? That's so 1990 late. Don't you
I
think?
totally agree 1,000,000%. But don't let them know. Don't let them know. Let me keep winning the way that I keep watching my fights.
Yeah, get a little DAZN.
Exactly. But DAZN is working really well. There was Roy McDonald, Mousasi, 170 versus 180. Both of these guys were UFC contenders. But the size did matter. I had Mousasi early on. I ended up switching to McDonald decision. The hype got to me, and Mousasi, the bigger guy, like always, tends to win. Mousasi's a huge 85er, and Roy
I had
McDonald's
McDonald the whole time, and then changed to Mousasi right at the end, right before fight time.
Here at LaTB, doing that research.
Yeah, Mousasi just looked bigger to me, and I started to compare his whole game. Like, I just think it just keeps taking such leaps and bounds as a fighter. And I was a hater on Mousasi going into it.
Yep.
But
how did you feel about the tournament? Ended up kicking underway with Lima versus Koreshkov in their third fight between them, but the first fight of the tournament, a brutal third round submission for Lima. Both UFC caliber fighters.
Have to give Bellator props on the $1 million tournament with the extra, in quote, 50 cent money. 50 Cent always does things that makes the IRS want to look at him. And then he's like, man, I made so much money with vitamin water. And the IRS is like, what? And then he's like, I'm just kidding, I'm broke. I really think he does have money. Everyone that thinks he's always lying about the amount of money he has, I think he has tons of money, and he's lying about how he's hiding it. And he's always says the wrong thing. Like,
1,000,000%. Why do you think all these millionaires that win the $1 million jackpots always go bankrupt? It's not because they squander the money, which they squander a lot of it, but eventually they get brokers in the Bahamas who says, go bankrupt, you won't pay taxes, keep your money here, and you're going to collect that much more interest. But that's what they're all doing once they get up into that.
They're like, there's no reason to take part of your millions and pay this stuff off. And
exactly. So the money is getting to these fighters. We saw some real quality fights there. Unquality or not quality fights. Gil Melendez, La Nina herself, ended up shitting a big egg. She got a split decision, but oof, that was rough at 115. Against the debuting Bellator fighter, she went to a split decision, minus 1,400.
I actually just think the debuting fighter was better than anyone expected.
Totally.
I don't think she looked bad. I think that the other girl just looked that much better.
I agree with that.
Expected.
I think that she was a young up and coming fighter who's gonna definitely look good in the women's division, where La Niña looked to start fading soon. She's up in that 35, 36 age range, and
is she that old?
yeah, she is.
Oh, I thought she was younger than Gil. I thought she was in her 20s, but she looks. If you ever seen the TV show Orange Is the New Black, she looks like a brown Piper Chapman.
I totally would agree with that. Totally would agree with that. But other than that, any UFC news that we need to get into before we get into this post? Well, let's see. Prelims preview.
It's gonna be the prelim breakdown. I don't think there is anything else going on. The world is waiting for two. So 165 isn't happening. The 165 division, but I never really thought it was. I thought it was Nate talking shit the whole time.
Did Dana White come out and say Diaz needs to shut up about it and just worry about fighting?
Like he said, I don't know why he's doing that. He's making people lose interest in the card.
I disagree 100%. I think that he's actually making a lot of noise for the division, and I've seen a lot of people back it here at LaTB. We've always been backing a complete readjustment after the 155-pound division. They need to go by fives after that point for a little while.
If they're going to make it the main event on that card, they need to put a belt involved. They need to.
I totally agree.
The co-main is Rockhold Weidman too. That's that card right now. I just don't think it's enough. And not that it's not enough of a card. I think it's an amazing pay-per-view. I think Nate Diaz is probably second only to Conor maybe third to John Bone Jones. Maybe. He might be tied with Johnny Bones with how much he brings in. But the MSG card, if they're gonna make a statement and let everyone know that our MSG card every year blows everything out of the water, and that's kind of what they've done so far. I think they have to stick with the precedence of bringing something else, which I still think it's John Jones. It's just the question is who John Jones is fighting, in my opinion.
I agree.
Everyone says that John Jones says he doesn't want to fight. Like it's too soon. But he knew he was coming.
We knew he was coming. Yeah. Everybody knew he was coming.
He's been training the whole time.
Yeah, you've been seeing footage of him. He ain't looking no skinny.
So Brock's everyone's first.
Of course.
Then DC, then Gustafsson.
I don't even know if Gustafsson needs to be in there, honestly.
I agree. I don't want to see him at all. Why all of a sudden he fights Johnny Bones? I like Yoel Romero versus Johnny Bones.
Yes, that would be a fun one.
At 205 for the belt.
I'd agree with that. I think it would be super fun.
And everyone's mad. How can you fight for the belt if you missed weight? Because Yoel.
I agree. I totally agree.
Like, at least he's fighting for the belt at a higher weight class.
What's happening in the UFC? I mean, weight control, weight management has been at an all-time low. I've never seen this. Even back in the day, guys used to not miss this much. Has it got more unprofessional as far as cutting weight? Is it USADA? What are the factors? Is it the fact that a lot of these guys realized a long time ago that 30% ain't shit? I'll give you 30% and get a 6-pound advantage. Henan Barao?
Yeah, like maybe.
Yoel Romero? How many guys?
The win's more important. No one remembers to the next fight. No one remembers when they're looking at your L or W whether or not you missed weight.
100%. So,
and if you're a hardcore fan, don't write us and say, I remember. Yeah, I know, but most people don't. Most people aren't like, well, Fatty Fats, he missed weight every time before that. That's why he has that win record. I always forget when I'm talking about Gastelum. I love him so much, I immediately forget when I'm looking at his record.
Habitual weight misser. One of the first guys to realize 30%, I'll eat a taco.
Well, didn't it used to be 20? I thought it was like 20% at a certain percentage of weight miss, and 30%. And we've seen 40%.
I was about to say, it depends on the commission.
Or I thought it depended on the amount of weight you missed.
Nope. It depends on the commission.
That's crazy.
So if you're Nevada, it's all the rules within hand. And with Gastelum and T Wood, I always got to bring up T Wood giving Gastelum a whole 30%. Was like, man, I don't want your money. Stand up move. People forget about that.
That is really stand up. T Wood always does the right thing.
He's a classy guy.
He gets no credit for it.
Totally. Totally.
All right, now we can finally get into this thing.
Get into a card of the year potential. There is so many stacked fights. Been waiting to break this one down for a little while. Lines are up. DraftKings up. We got betting to do. We got money to make. Here at LaTB, we're going into 229, the prelims.
Just the prelims.
Star-studded event here. We're going to start from the bottom to the top. And we have Tony Martin versus Ryan LaFleur at 170 pounds. Both of these young men have been fighting in the UFC for a bit now. Tony Martin is 13-4 against LaFleur's 14-2. LaFleur has recently come off of a loss, getting a win against a decision against, who was his last opponent here? Why is it not?
Alex Garcia.
Garcia in 5 months ago. And
weren't we at that fight?
I don't think we were. I think it was right after it. We have Martin coming back and avenging his few losses in the UFC against Nakamura in a decision. Prior to that, he lost a split decision to Aban Mercier. So both of these guys have very similar styles. Ryan LaFleur tends to be that grinder guy who ended up getting outground a few times he's lost. Got outstruck by Oliveira, who Tony Martin isn't going to come in there and blow him out of the water. Tony Martin being 28 years old against a 35-year-old LaFleur. LaFleur has kind of peaked and has started to, for me, I've started to see breaks in his gas tank in the third round. In the third round, I remember against Garcia, even though he was winning that fight, he was really sitting back on that first and second round. Garcia, who tends to gas as well, was able to start to get more off on LaFleur, and LaFleur used to really dominate the gas control. Martin has had gas tank issues as well, but has gotten him better and better. Nakamura has that same grinding style, who tends to eke out decisions, but Martin's looked better. This is a disgusting dirty split to me. I like LaFleur a little bit more because he's the better sound wrestler striking-wise. Martin is better, but pillow-fisted, and it's a matter of time until LaFleur kind of gets you to the ground. Martin has okay reversals, but LaFleur really stuffs you, gets that position. Other than the submission, he will grind out a 3-round decision, even if he, again, has to give up the third round to win the first 2. I got LaFleur decision, but this is one of those stay-aways. First fight of the night. You know how we play here at LaTB. What are you going down with this one?
In my opinion, I think Tony Martin is better than Alex Garcia, so I think he can kind of do a similar thing to him as Alex Garcia did to Ryan LaFleur. And I also know Tony Martin lost to Aban Mercier, but I don't think LaFleur is as good as Aban Mercier. I think Martin can eke out a decision here. I think it's a weird fight for me. I think it is going to be a dirty split as well, and I think it's going to get boring pretty quickly.
I totally see a grind fest both ways. This is going to be a wrestling match with a couple strikes.
I'm going to stay away from this all day. I think it's a 50-50 going down, and I got Martin decision right now, and maybe part of it is a complete bias because I think there's no reason for LaFleur to be such a favorite here. So I'm going the other way.
And out of the both fighters, as I was kind of alluding to earlier, we're going to see regular LaFleur because we know what he does at 35 years old. Where Martin has those potentials of humongous bounds and growth in his game, or the tightening of his game where he's really now found his niche. I totally agree. Dirty split, city, minus 150 for Ryan LaFleur as of right now.
I know we were going to try to say if fights could be a draw, because if you're going to make your $75 for your $1 bet. This is a fight, though, that I think could go down where it could be a draw.
I could totally see that. It's a
weird fight.
It's really close fight. Minus 150 Ryan LaFleur, 8,800 Ryan LaFleur against 7,300. Let's see here. 7-4 for Tony Martin. Be very cautious on that. Very, very cautious. Then we go to the 155ers with Gray Maynard versus Nick Lentz. This is a Legends fight at Bellator. On Saturday, we had a Legends fight with Rampage versus Silva. We got another one here in the UFC with Maynard versus Lentz. Both of these guys been in the UFC for a long time. Greg Maynard being 13-6 against Lentz is 29-9. We have a 34-year-old Nick Lentz against a 39-year-old Gray Maynard. This has been rough patches for both of these guys. Nick Lentz is coming off of a loss in a decision against David Timura, but beating a couple other people, being the tenuous grinder in there, losing to Makhachev, getting a decision over Will Brooks, or a submission over Will Brooks. Gray Maynard coming in, beating Ishihara over a year or 2 months ago. The 39-year-old tends to take big gaps in his fights because he just can't stay healthy. He's 39, been a long-time fighter and wrestler, but really, in his later career, has gone to that wrestling. That's how he blew up Ishihara, and Nick Lentz loves the grind. Nick the Carney Lentz is one of those perennial underdogs who grabs a guillotine and rips your freaking head off because he's a chimp in there as well. Nick Lentz does gas quickly, but can find that third round submission, as I was saying before, off of his back. Does some Carney shit in there. And Gray Maynard, I don't know who to fade more, but I want to lean towards the more faded wrestler at 39 years old with one of the worst chins. Nick Lentz, though, doesn't have power. Never has power. Has never gone in there and just starched anyone. He gets you to the ground and submits you. And Gray Maynard has that wrestling that I like to stifle stuff with.
And Gray Maynard hasn't been knocked out in over 4 years.
Because he's moved to that wrestling.
And do you like at all that he's moving up in weight?
Yes, I do. I think that helps that chin out a little bit. At 39 with a long career, though, and the amount of hits Maynard's taken, Lentz could always get the knockout in here, and people are like, oh, he's got knockout power. No, it's not knockout power. But I see this going a lot like LaFleur Martin, where we're going to see Grind City. Lentz has good shots. Gray Maynard has good stuffs, but also has good shots. I think that this is much closer than people have it. I got Maynard decision. I think the wrestling takes it out, but again, this is a stay away. This is going to be 30 points on DraftKings for me.
I agree with you. I'm just going the opposite way. Again, I got Lentz decision here. I think it's going to be a really painful first 2 fights going into this. Are we in the third?
We're in the second one.
Yeah.
It feels like the third already.
I realize I just yawned on the breakdown.
Nick Lentz being 9,000 on DraftKings against 7,200 for Gray Maynard. Wow, I guess the Beans coming in with a slight underdog in.
Yeah, we flip-flop. I got the slight underdog on the first fight, and you got the slight underdog on the grind on the second fight.
And I want to say slight underdog, Nick Lentz being the minus 220 favorite. I got a big underdog at plus 185.
You're crazy as hell. That's what the betting lines want to tell you. You just said Gray Maynard?
I agree. Nick Lentz is better than Ishihara, and he's crafty on the ground. I am thinking it's a positional. It's a lot like LaFleur, where I'm going to be sweating my ass off in these fights. I'm not going to put them everywhere. But I could see Gray Maynard being a wage gauger at 7-2 if I don't see the finish. As I said, 30 points each fighter is what I see kind of happening. So do I want to ruin my DraftKings night? Do I want to go for those steady decisions or try to get the finish?
I think Tony Martin's, even with the decision loss, will be worth more than Gray Maynard, even if he has a decision win.
I don't know. I don't agree with that necessarily. Fun one. That's where you're going to be making money here at LaTB. Depends if you go with Lesbo or the Bean.
I got Lentz's decision, but I do think he could get the finish. So I am staying far away from Gray Maynard. But I have been thinking that for 5 years, since before the 4-year knockout of Ross Pearson. That was Ross Pearson's last run.
I think
Maynard's chin.
Yeah. Whew, it's been a long show for those guys. Long trip, I mean.
I just started Gray Maynard hating.
A lot of people seem to mislike Gray Maynard. They don't like his dude.
They don't like his name.
Then we stay in the 155-pound division with Alan Patrick versus Scott Holtzman. And Patrick coming in with a 15-1 record, being long in the UFC, having injuries, coming back from them, and really being a Brazilian who likes to use his wrestling to get the fight where he wants to. Scott Holtzman being 11-2, had a few fights in the UFC, has come off a 2-fight winning streak against Darren Horcher decision, and Michael McBride, who is no longer in the UFC, but Holtzman has lost to Josh Emmett in a decision and Drew Dober in a decision. Holtzman is a decision fighter, doesn't have tons of power. Good, a jack of all trade, master of none is Holtzman. Serviceable everywhere. And in a specialist, which I'd see Patrick being a wrestling specialist, I think that this plays out a lot like our earlier fights where Patrick has a good double leg takedown. He actually shoots, I believe, twice the amount of shots, gets almost a third more than Holtzman does on his takedowns. And Patrick has really good ground control where he stays on top, doesn't go for submissions all the time, if not their arm triangles, but just goes to work to mount and get ground and pound. I see this being a solid decision against Holtzman. Holtzman can grind out. I think this has dirty split written all over it as well. I am going Patrick due to the amount of takedowns. Patrick's Muay Thai is good as well. He has good knees and good clinch, but always goes his takedown even when he gets hurt. I like Patrick's IQ, even though Patrick makes boring fights happen. I'm going with the 35-year-old against the 35-year-old Holtzman. Both of these guys are who they are in the UFC. Decision for me.
They are really relying a lot on this. I agree with you. I have Patrick decision as well. I think it's another boring decision, but I think it's handed. I think he wins all 3 rounds decisively, and I just think he's a better fighter everywhere than Holtzman. But it's going to be another boring decision. I don't think this one's the dirty split or even has I just think Patrick is better everywhere. It is scary. Both fighters are getting up there with age. So yeah, puncher's chance, blah, 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 blah. But I think Patrick decision, and I think he lays out enough points in a decision to maybe be worth it to put on your card if he's not too expensive.
9,100 on Patrick against 7-1. I think that's too much for a wrestling. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't see the finish coming either. I'm going to stay.
I think there could be a lot of reversals in this fight, and because of the ground and pound he lays, it's not a bunch of power behind it, but there is a lot of hits. So if they're depending on how they score it, I think it could be worth points, but not 9-1 points. Maybe like 8-7 points. DraftKings. Wow, it's going to be a painful. The prelims right now are looking painful to me.
I agree. I do. Now, I just did a little quick research, looked at the game logs for Patrick, and other than his loss, he's in the 70, 80 point range of, and it's because those takedowns. And I think I am going to play Patrick on a couple, but 9-1, that's tough. He has to get over 90.
Be in the 8-7 range.
I totally agree. We have minus 250 for Alan Patrick against plus 210. Everybody sees that fight going the same way apparently, and it is that wrestling taking over in that fight. As we go on to the 135ers, the bantamweights, we have Yana Kunitskaya versus Lena Landsberg. Both of these fighters have had a few fights in the UFC. Landsberg is 8-3 against Kunitskaya 10-4. Kunitskaya coming in, taking a decided L in her debut against Justino. Landsberg also got that treatment. That's what she needed to do to get in the UFC. But since then, Landsberg has come back and got a win over Gina Manzani, we always pronounce that wrong here, in a decision. But she also lost to Aspen Ladd via TKO. Who else? Lena Landsberg also beat Pudilova, who's no longer in the UFC. Both of these ladies, I mean, they're in the division at 135. It's a lacking division. It's hard to get talent in here from other divisions. We're going to see Aspen Ladd later on in the night, and the 36-year-old Landsberg against a 28-year-old Kunitskaya. Kunitskaya likes to keep it standing. So does Landberg. On the ground, both of them. It's a JV wrestling match on the ground. Both of them can throw up submissions, but neither of them are really there. This stays a striking battle. Who has the more power here? I think it's Kunitskaya, but Landsberg also is a serviceable, crafty striker. This is just a slop fest for me, written all over it.
Would you say it adds to the earlier fights, that it's just going to add to the excitement going into?
You're paying for the pay-per-view this night because the early fights are a little rough. They're a
These
little
all Fight Pass
heavy.
cards?
These are going to be Fight Pass cards. I think they go to FS1 right before.
This fight, Landsberg Kunitskaya, is this the first one on FS1?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head right now, but I'm going to end up going Kunitskaya decision. I don't like myself. I'm going to stay away from this regardless everywhere. I'm not going to bet on it either way. I got Kunitskaya decision. I don't think I need to go crazier other than make a sandwich.
I agree. There's not going to be a lot of points here laid out by either woman, win or lose. I got Landsberg decision, and I'm purely going with UFC experience. That's the only reason I'm saying that. Everywhere else, I think they are pretty similar to each other. Maybe Kunitskaya could. She seems longer to me, so maybe she could eke out some weird submission, but I just don't see that happening at this level. Landsberg decision. I also feel weird about it.
Minus 185 favorite Kunitskaya, 8,500 on DraftKings against the plus 140 Landsberg, 7,700 on DraftKings. Total stay away from that all the way around. Betting wise, maybe on the bet was the over, but that's going to be minus money. You're not going to get plus money on the over for that. Everyone probably sees that coming. We stay in the preliminaries in the 135-pound division with Tanya Evinger against that Aspen Ladd herself. This is a fight that fell out for Ladd. She, I believe, fell out against somebody else earlier, got rebooked against Evinger, who's coming in.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
This is the first exciting fight of the night. I think, or first exciting fight to happen so far.
And exciting. I think this is a remnant of what we've been seeing earlier on. I think that this has a potential to be a grind fest all day with Tanya Evinger.
Wanting to stay standing and box. I don't think Evinger is scared of using her hands either.
I agree.
I think this could be a bang out. I think this could be a really exciting fight.
Evinger's coming back from surgery on her knee. She got the Justino treatment as well, taking Justino the furthest that a lot of people have. I guess Megan Anderson just went all 5 rounds with Justino, but no, with Holmes.
Yeah.
Never mind.
No. I think Holly finished her ground and pound, right?
Yeah, you're right. So Evinger got the Justino treatment. Aspen Ladd is perfect, 6-0 in there. As you're saying, I don't think Evinger's scared striking at all in there. Evinger's tough enough. I don't think Ladd has that power. And I'm going to stay away from this fight as well. I think Evinger can grind it out. I think she can put Ladd up to the fence, eventually get those takedowns. Ladd's going to throw the kitchen sink at Evinger, and Evinger's going to take it. And all of a sudden, Ladd's going to start to gas. And Evinger's going to be like, all right, mama, this is what I came to do. Let's go, honey. We came to play. And Evinger's going to grind it out. She just has that hey, do I want to say Florida toughness? That Southern toughness, womaness, where you can hit her with a frying pan. She'll be cooking dinner or having a beer by the end of the night. Like, is that just Evinger? She's got that Leslie Smith about her.
You feel like she looks like the lady serial killer.
100%. She could have been from Eileen Wuornos in the best ways possible. But you want that on your side. I'm on her side. I love you, Evinger. I'm sure she's a fan here at Lesbo and the Bean. She supports. She's on the winning team.
I'm sure she's a huge underdog in this fight.
Evinger being at near even 8,000 against Aspen Ladd's 8-2.
I agree with you everywhere. I actually think by the time this fight gets going, Aspen Ladd's going to be a huge favorite. I think Tanya Evinger is for some reason like a perennial underdog. And I think she's going to grind her out. Her cardio is going to withstand a beating, and I think she's going to submit her in round 3. I got Tanya Evinger, and I think it's going to be an exciting, it's going to be 10 minutes of throwing, at least 7 minutes of just punches thrown, and then you're going to see Aspen Ladd slowly wind out. I think you're going to be impressed with the amount of damage that Evinger takes and keeps coming forward.
I totally agree with that, and that smothering forward pressure is going to pay dividends, even if she's a punching bag initially. Minus 160 for Aspen Ladd against the plus 145 Evinger. We got an underdog on our hands that we agree with, and it's for all the right reasons. Even on DraftKings, do you think that Evinger's worth 8,000? It's really close. I wish it was a little bit further apart with those odds.
I know. I do think I agree with you. I think Evander should be more of an underdog on the fight, but maybe somebody at DraftKings sees what we see.
Totally. As we go to the 170 pounders, we have a showcase fight coming up. I got fight of the night written all over this. We have a debut fighter, Jalen Turner, coming out of that Winklejohn camp against Vicente Luque, a LaTB favorite here. But I think that a lot of people see the favorite here in Luque coming in against a young up-and-comer at 23 years old. Turner's had a few fights, 7-3. His losses have mainly come by submission. He tends to be a good striker, really long at 6'3", against the 170, 26-year-old, 5'10" Luque. You know Luque comes out here banging. You know he's got a Darce from hell. You know he's got a good takedown defense, which he doesn't have to worry about because Turner doesn't like to use his takedowns at all in here. I did watch some of his fights. He's actually the only debuting fighter of the card of the entire night. And I like what I saw. Coming out of that camp, Winklejohn, they know how to get a fighter ready. They know how to put a big training camp. You know that Turner stays away. He actually has a couple finished body shots from teeps. He knows how to use his length better than most other fighters that are that tall. And he's going to create problems for guys. Though he can get hurt, he has that tall man defense at times, where it's that James Vick-ish, as I said it before. He can keep his head a little bit straight, and against the big puncher, once Turner gets hurt, he can flop a little bit, and that's where these guys will get the rear naked choke. They'll get around the back and be able to capitalize. And against Vicente Luque, if you give him a second of your neck after he hurts you a bit, it does create problems. A lot of people see this being one-sided Luque, and rightfully so. The amount of competition and level of competition Luque's had is leaps and bounds further. But this is an underdog who's coming in with the right amount of coaching, the right amount of credentials. I liked what I saw from Turner here. You know that I like, and we like here, Luque everywhere. I'm going to pick Luque. I think he can get the submission in the second round. I think he wears down a little bit of Turner. Turner realizes what it takes to be UFC caliber. And I think Turner is going to grow leaps and bounds. I think this is a great submission into the 170 pounders. This is a thick division. I could even see Turner moving up a little bit eventually in his career, being 23 at 170. He's wiry. I think he could hurt Luque to the body here. Luque has been hurt with body shots, and Turner's body attack is very, very sneaky. I'm going Luque submission round number 2, but I'm going to have to back off a little bit on this because Turner he's not going to go in there and get walked over. I guarantee it. How do you feel this fight goes down?
I think Turner's going to go on and get walked over. I got Luque KO round 1. He's just a friggin' huge welterweight. No. And Turner is a wiry guy that's coming up from 155. This is not an easy fight for welcoming a guy into the real UFC, first of all, and then to welcome a guy into the 170 division is just a lot to ask to go against Vicente Luque. I do think this guy is heavy-handed, but no heavy-handeder than Laprise is at 170. So I think Vicente Luque is going to knock him out. I had Vicente Luque submission just wearing out his cardio slowly in submission round 3. But then once I saw the last fight of Turner that he fought and that he weighed in at 155 and he didn't seem like a big 155er. So Vincente's I see Vicente going up to 185 one day. So in my opinion, he is a huge 170er. I just think it's too much, too soon for Jalen Turner. I'm excited about his career still, but Vincente's one of the guys I like to maybe one day wear the belt in the division himself. Vicente Luque, KO, round 1.
Don't get it twisted. I'm still picking submission round number 2, Vicente Luque. That's still going to pay out. 9,400 on DraftKings, pretty steep. I do think Vicente can pull that off at minus 750 for Luque against the plus 525 for Turner. I just think it's not absolutely crazy. I don't want to put that bad juju on it, but as I'm saying, Turner he's gonna get wins in there. Not against Luque, but he's gonna be able to beat other guys. I guarantee it. He's a fun addition, definitely, to the UFC. How much do you think you're going to play for 9,400? Luque against 7,000 or 6,800.
But he'll probably be on between, a quarter and 50% of my cards.
I agree with that. Then we go on to the 125 pounders. We have one half of two brothers showing up. Sergio Pettis versus GCA Formiga. I know we didn't have a podcast back then, but I remember years ago telling you, making a live bet when Sergio Pettis lost against Benoit, saying, Anthony Pettis is watching this in the warm-up room. Does it affect him? And then he got smashed in his fight.
That is so true.
Anthony Pettis himself said, I know one thing about this. I'm never fighting on a card with my brother ever again.
And now he's having the hardest fight of his career.
You better hope Sergio Pettis gets it done in there, gets the freaking train moving in the right direction, because Anthony isn't going to look good against a hell of a fighter. But first, we got Pettis against Jussier Formiga, and Sergio Pettis, a lot of people have said Baby Pettis is actually going to be the better fighter in the long run of the career.
He's going to be the Bettis Pettis.
The better Pettis. And Sergio is starting to come about. Takedown defense gotten on point. Good striker. His chin has been a little bit wobbly, suspect, but that's just because he has lapses in judgment in there against the good fighters. Jussier Formiga being 21-9, perennial top 10 fighter. I mean, this is a fun one. This has a scrap all the way around. Formiga can keep it banging if he wants to.
Potential.
I totally agree. Pettis coming off of that big win over Benavidez in a dirty-ass split decision. That's the number 2 guy in the division. A lot of people hyped on that, losing to Sergio, or to Cejudo,
it shouldn't
controversial.
have been a split, in my opinion. I think Pettis schooled Benavidez in that fight. I was surprised at how well he looked against Joey B.
I agree. It really was a coming-out show. And Formiga, a lot of people say, would lose to Benavidez as well in there. And dare I say, I'm on that train as well. I'm in that boat. Jussier Formiga, though, comes out striking, has a heavy hand, can get a little wild in there, and Pettis needs to be on his P's and Q's in order to get this win. I could see it happening due to the Pettis' takedown defense as of late. If he can keep this at striking range where he excels at, it's going to be a death by 1,000 cuts. I don't see the kill shot coming in. I just see a decision all day in this fight. I want to say Formiga has a shot in there, but it's a decision chance at that. If there was a flash finish, I do see Formiga just kind of blitzing him like Benoit and maybe hitting a heavy wild punch. But I am going to side with the more technical fighter here who has a better gas tank, I'd say, as well. Has kept it together better on. Sergio Pettis in a decision. I don't know how much I play this because I see this a decision for either fighter. I don't know how heavy I go Pettis here. Who do you have in this one?
I see a decision as well for Pettis, but I do think the guys are in the small enough weight classes that they can easily lay out over 80 points apiece. It depended on who gets the win here, which I do see being Pettis everywhere. I think he will wear the belt one day for sure in the 125 division, and I think he'll slowly move up. He's in the right spot with the right coaches. His brother did everything that can be done right and also know everything not to do. I really like Sergio coming up in this division. I don't know if he beats Cejudo yet, but I do think winning this fight puts him in a spot. I just think we see Mighty Mouse back away for a little while and on decision of his own. Just take time off. He was a champ for a really long time. Yep. And he's making killer money over on Twitch, so I don't think he needs it for the paycheck at all. I think Sergio Pettis could set himself up that if TJ says for whatever reason because I think he's the A side of the him Cejudo card, if he says for whatever reason that he doesn't want to fight at 125 coming up at whatever date, I think Sergio gets that fight next. I really like Sergio Pettis in this division. I don't know if he's ready for TJ or Cejudo or Mighty Mouse yet, but he will be a champion one day.
I like what you're saying. On DraftKings, Sergio, 8,600 against 7,600 for Formiga. In a decision, are you playing Sergio much there?
No, I actually think
agree.
the wager gauger's on Formiga there.
You read my mind, Lesbo. Read my mind. Because I was going to say the same thing. I think Formiga, I actually had, before this breakdown, I had Formiga decision. But the more I was looking into the last fights, and Formiga can make this, he's got a good gas tank as well. Don't get that twisted. He doesn't fade much in there at all. Out of the two fighters, though,
I
he
didn't
will a
like
bit more.
the way Joey B looked at all the last fight.
I agree.
So I don't know if it was just Pettis making him look bad or if he was injured and shouldn't have been there anyway. It was a weird looking Joey Benavidez last fight. And it wasn't just the dyed hair.
Is it one of those, though, that as we've heard on podcasts, it's like every fighter's hurt before they go in there?
Yeah, that could be too.
Everybody's hurt. So we made it.
Everybody hurts sometimes.
That was a good one. I like it. I like it. Finally getting there. This one
What are we
didn't hurt
talking
too
about?
bad. This one didn't hurt too bad. We finally made it to the main event of the prelims. Headlining, we have Quinones
Easily probably the fight of the night. Now that we're here,
versus Mally.
I
Fight
think
of the
that-
night? No way!
or
No way, fight of the
or
night!
fight of the prelims. Like how we were talking, the other ones had potential.
I don't know. I like that Luque Turner. I like freaking Formiga Pettis. Even though those were like,
It's a better looking prelims because of like 3 cards, but I just think O'Malley Quinones. I think it's a better fight than
it's a
anyone's giving it
showcase fight. It's a showcase fight for Mally. They're setting him up to look better here than the other guy. No, I know Evil Twin is a Quinones lover. He's
I don't
always
think this is an easy
backing.
fight or a setup at all. I think this is, if it is a setup fight, I think Sean O'Malley it's going to be a hard fucking fight for him.
Definitely not an absolute walkthrough by any means. We got Sugar Sean O'Malley coming in at a perfect 10-0 at 23 years old, and against Quinones, Jose Alberto Quinones, Teco, as we like to call him, at 7-2. He's got 1 loss in the UFC against Alejandro Perez, but coming off of a 4-fight winning streak over Ishihara, Quinones is really a grinder's grinder, willing to take a shot in there. He's got clean boxing. Being a Mexican fighter, he's been out of lines for a while. He's going to have a disadvantage in the reach by 3 inches. Sugar Shane likes to use his length better almost than anybody in there. He's one of those gangly guys who uses his kicks well, punches well, throws good variety to the legs, body, and head, throws a lot of spinning attack, but does gas a little bit. He can't hurt himself as well. We saw it in that Sohamthas fight where he hurt his own foot kicking. And that's because a lot of those kicks are spam kicks. They're non-committal. They're like a jab. And with those jabs, if you hit the top of your foot on somebody's head, you can break your foot. And he's alluded to that a few times. Sean O'Malley said, I break my feet a lot. He talked about it on Rogan. He's like, it happens because I throw a lot of kicks. And what happens? We've seen it in other sports as well with kickers that guys don't have ankles by the end of their careers with a kick-heavy attack like that. Quinones can check kicks to the body. Quinones is a little bit susceptible, but again, that forward pressure really smothers, especially kickers that we were talking about earlier with fights. Quinones' forward pressure does smother a lot of those kicks. And boxing, pound for pound, I want to say Teco's a better forward pressure, and O'Malley does throw that counter kind of McGregor left straight is more of the counter striker there. I love this fight. I do think it's a fight of the night contender. I think you're spot on with that. 9,200 on DraftKings for O'Malley's too much. I agree it's not that much of a walkover the more I talk about it, but I do think O'Malley gets a decision, if not a late TKO round, just because, I don't know. Teco's a grinder here. I'm going to go O'Malley decision. I was going finish. I do think the favorite here is O'Malley slightly on the ground. O'Malley's been a little sneaky, what we've seen. Teco can hold his own. Got O'Malley decision. I moved off of a finish for 9-2. I can't trust O'Malley in that 9,200 range.
I agree with you. I have O'Malley decision, but I think Quinones, I think part of it'll be a dirty split, and O'Malley's the crowd favorite, and so when he lands stuff, there'll be more reaction from the crowd, which we know sways the judges 100%. I think the grind, the uglier style that looks a little boring, I think it's going to stifle a lot of those kicks, because I think one of those kooky kicks is going to get Sean O'Malley taken down, and he's going to get held down for the better part of a round, and he's not going to make the same mistake twice. I do give the upper hand to Sean O'Malley. I think he has the better hands here. I do think he's the better boxer here. I just think his style on the ground is stifled by the wrestling of Alberto. So I like Alberto better there, and I think if he can get in the inside of Sean O'Malley, he stifles all his kicks altogether. I just think Sean O'Malley has better hands, better elbows. So I do like what you were saying too about if there's a finish potential here, I see it being Sean O'Malley's. I do see an ugly, brutal cuts, a knockout, a good uppercut. He does have a good left hand. He is the counter striker. So I do see the finishing happen for Sean O'Malley, and I do have O'Malley decision. I just like Quiñones everywhere, and I'm going to continue to support him. I think he's a hot underdog in this fight. Hot underdog.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
I like both these guys a lot. And if Sean O'Malley, this could be the fight that puts Sean O'Malley, if he loses it, it will, for me, put him in the category of, who's the guy that's not going to fight Zabit ever? That keeps...
The fight,
Zabit and who keeps turning down Yair. If Sean O'Malley, this could be the fight that if Sean O'Malley loses it, it puts him in the Yair category. Where if you want something flashy, something fun, he's a Bruce Leroy. Yep. But if he makes it through this fight handedly, Homeboy's one, like... Yeah,
Quiñones
I'm all on
tough.
the train. Quiñones is so tough.
He's so tough. Is it that Mexican fighting spirit, or is it just that fighter spirit? Because here at LaTB, when we see a gritty grinder who will make a dirty fight, we tend to side with him. And Quiñones checks all those boxes. Every single one of them.
I think so, too. I think he's a fun guy going forward here.
Definitely. So... that's what we're going to get into this breakdown. We got another heavy-duty one. Oh, real quick. Is Alliance... no, not AKA. Where's Alliance with Quiñones? He's fighting with a couple other top quality. Is it... Dominic Cruz, a couple other guys. He's got the right weight in there. Woo.
He's got the right ring IQ coaching going into
exactly.
it. Jeremy Stevens is out there.
That's what I'm thinking. That's Stevens. All with his weight class.
There's a couple of women, too, who are slaying right now out of Alliance.
Yep. Yeah. So, again, that's what we're going to get into.
Sugar Shane just trains with his best friend. Which is kind of cool. He's kind of like a specific. Yeah.
It's Miocic, very Stipe
or
Miocic.
TJ.
Fight of the night potential there. We still have 5 more main event pay-per-view cards. I'm super hyped. We got underdogs that we gave you this time. There's more underdogs, if not near favorites, we got coming into the next one. The odds have been moving in favor of actually the way I'm trying to bet. So I think it's better left to keep those let those lines keep stacking the way they are.
Yeah, I think if you're liking what you're hearing, you should make sure that you're liking and subscribing so you can get the notification when our show comes out Wednesday.
Let's run the beat!
Thanks for listening to LaTB. For all things Lesbo and the Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.